This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by former boxer, now trainer, Jamie Moore up here in Manchester. Jamie, first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm okay, thank you, mate.
That's good to hear. Now, obviously, you've got a stacked gym, quite a day today for yourself.
See, this is what I've got to fucking put up with all the time. Can't even count.
Obviously, you've got Carl Frampton and Akib Fiaz in the background there. Carl sparring with Akib. What do you make of kind of their sparring sessions?
I think they're great. I think so. Akib's obviously young, hungry, up and coming. He's improving all the time, so that keeps Carl on his toes, and it makes him sort of have to perform at a certain level. And I think obviously that Carl's ring generalship, his experience, the little things that he does, which Akib's still sort of growing into and learning, that sort of brings it out. So for instance then, just those little pockets of sparring where he was doing some inside work, some body work, and Carl started using his angles and changing the angles, whereas Akib at first was just straight down the middle. And then the next time, so we went away from it, did some other stuff, and then went back to the body sparring, and then straight away Akib started using the angles in his feet, because obviously it was something that worked for Carl 2 rounds before. So he's a sponge like that. He really does sort of take it on board quick and adapt and adjust really well. So yeah, I'm quite liking it. We've been doing a lot of tech sparring, because it started off obviously when we was first back in, and we had to be careful about distancing and stuff. So we was working on footwork more than anything, and just still keeping away. And then as time's gone on, we've sort of got it a little bit closer together. But it's working really well, and I can see he's not bringing Akib on, he's actually bringing Carl on as well, because he's sort of revisiting things what maybe, you know, fighters like him who've got that much experience, they sometimes something what they're really good at, and they go away from it because they forget about it. So it's sort of triggering things for him as well.
Obviously, Akib, he has a fight day, August 14th. 7th, sorry.
Yeah.
There's obviously a consecutive shows with Matchroom, but August 7th, Akib Fiaz versus Kane Baker. Just talk to me about that fight, Jamie. Obviously, I interviewed Kane last week, I believe it was, and Kane seems to believe that his experience will pay dividends on the night. Eddie's been keen on having 50-50 matchups. What are your thoughts on their fight?
Well, yeah, it is a very good matchup. I think styles will gel well, so it'll make for an entertaining fight for the fans. So Akib's not very experienced in the professional ranks, so to speak. He's had 5 fights, but his ring craft, his technique, his experience in general, you know, he's been boxing since he was 11 years old. And probably about the same weight, so he was a big kid, and then he sort of grown into it. And as he went through the years, he won the ABAs at, you know, so many years on the bounce, all at the same weight as he was growing. So he's got a lot of experience. He's been over to, I mean, he trains and spars with Carl and Jack Catterall, you know, week in, week out, and the stuff what he's learned from them over the last 18 months, I've seen that kid grow so much over the last 18 months. And bear in mind, that's on the back of him coming here as a 17-year-old, doing a few rounds with Carl, and even then, we was like, this kid's good. So he's added a lot to his style. So on the surface of it, I can understand where they're coming from, but that won't come into play on the night. You know, it's going to be a good fight. I think Kane's a good fighter, and he's, you know, he's going to give him a tough test, and it'll be a good fight for the people watching on TV as well. But Akib's a special fighter. He's going to go a long way.
If Akib's obviously successful on the night, as I've said, Eddie's been keen to try and make as many close to 50-50 matchups as he can. Is there kind of going to be a pressure for not just Akib but the other fighters who are on the cards to be in those types of fights moving forwards, despite Akib's, you know, lack of professional experience?
I won't say pressure, but I think it's important that Eddie, they're going to, moving forward, they're going to have a relationship where, you know, once we go back to normal and the arenas are full, and Eddie sits down and looks, right, who are we going to put on these cards? You've got to reflect on this time period. You know, there's going to be a lot of fighters who have been offered fights and have turned them down because the money isn't quite where it is in general, because the arenas aren't full, and they're going, oh, well, you know, I want a bit more money for that fight. So I'm sure he'll look back in 6 months' time or 12 months' time, maybe it'll go in Akib's favour, where he goes, who should put on this fight? Or does Akib deserve a little bit more money for this fight? Well, done us the right favour on that card coming through. So yeah, I think you'll like him. Listen, Akib sells tickets. He sells tickets. He can fight. I wouldn't say this fight is 50-50. I'd say it's probably 60-40 in Akib's favour. But for a kid who's 5-0, who's already been match tough since he turned pro, I wanted him match tough. Not too tough, because that's stupid. But I wanted him in competitive fights, because you learn more, then it improves you. I didn't want him to turn pro and have 2 years of fighting journeyman, because you go backwards. I didn't want him to go backwards. I wanted him to go forwards, and so obviously we respect Kane as a fighter. So it's not like we're overlooking him, but it's just I know that this will be really good for Akib's education moving forward and making him into a better fighter.
Obviously, just to move away from Akib and try to get into some of the other guys or girls, and start off with Chantel. Chantel, she wanted to throw her hat into the ring for potential Katie Taylor fighters. It all blew up between Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, what have you, over social media. Where does the land lie with that? Do you think it is possible we could see Katie step in with, Chantel step in with Katie? Well,
she's ready. If the phone rings and they want Chantel to fight Katie Taylor, then she'll fight her. I've told her to, that could happen, because we don't know what's happening. It looks, Serrano's not going to fight her now, so it looks like they're going for the rematch with Pursuit. Now, if that fight happens, that's a great fight. So you can't sort of complain about that. But outside of that fight, if you're talking about the easiest fights to make under the current circumstances, and the fights that fans want to see, then Chantel's got to come after that. So if Pursuit can't be done, then hopefully they come for Chantel. The only reason I can think of, because Chantel's a mandatory challenger, so the only reason I can think of that it wouldn't have happened is that they don't want that fight. So it's pretty understandable. Chantel's unbeaten, coming through. You can sort of look at it from Kane's point of view and go, why do I need that fight? Especially when there's no crowds, because it's going to be physically a tough fight. So I'm hoping that we get the phone call, even if it's on 4 weeks' notice. If they get to that stage and they're going, well, we're struggling, she'll be ready, because she's in the gym, she's training.
Obviously, you've got Dave Allen as well, who's joined up with yourself. He's had a couple of weeks now to settle in. How's he been looking?
Yeah, it's been looking really good. I think it was four weeks now he's been training, and he really settled in. He's the right sort of character for this gym. He's slotted right in. He's surprised me. I've got to be honest, he surprised me, because just talking to him before he came here about his habits, his training routine and stuff, they're not what you would expect. And so I expected his fitness levels and even his technique and stuff, so to speak, to not be what they are, but they surprised me. You come on, when the first run he came on with the lads, he was right there with the lads right at the front, and he's not run for a long time apparently. So I think genetically he's gifted. He's got a lot of skill, which I don't think you've seen. You've not even scratched the surface with him, because he's never really been in a position to expose himself to people, because he's maybe cut corners. So I'm excited about him performing, because I've said to him, Dave, you've got the amount of talent you've got. It'd be a criminal to not show people how good you are, and give it a couple of years and you could beat anyone. I mean, literally, he's that good. He's not been able to show it. So we'll see. The only thing is, time will tell. We'll see. But so far, so good.
There was obviously those talks, or all those rumours and talks about a potential Hughie Fury fight. Where did everything kind of land with that as well?
Dave accepted the fight. Hughie accepted the fight, and then for whatever reason they didn't do it. I think it was that Matchroom was struggling to fit it into that card because of the finances and stuff, which is understandable because there's no crowds and stuff like that. But from what I can understand, both sides accepted the fight, and they just didn't move forward with it. So it was no one's fault. It was just we accepted it, and we was looking forward to doing it, and it just didn't happen.
Moving away from that, obviously you've got Carl Frampton, Stephen Ward, Martin Murray, Rocky Fielding, and I probably others that I've missed out, but nobody else kind of has dates set. What's kind of a plan with them back in the gym at the minute?
Carl's looking at early August. We're still waiting for the date to be confirmed, but it's looking like early August. We're waiting on a date for Jack Carroll, who's been waiting, seems like, for an eternity for his world title shot. He's been mandatory for over 18 months now. But because of the way things are, the politics of it, it's understandable. It's difficult to do because of Ramirez's position, with him holding 2 world titles. He's already got a mandatory from the WBC, so it's so hard to enforce your mandatory. Potentially he might end up boxing for the interim title, so in the meantime, because we don't want him to stagnate and be sat around, so we're just waiting for confirmation of that. But yeah, I think I say Carl, Stephen Ward is looking like a big cruiserweight now. So you look at him now. He was over here a couple of weeks ago and he's gone back home now just because he has got a fight date. But just being over here and you look at the size and you think, why do you even contemplate doing light heavyweight? It's crazy. He looks like a big cruiserweight. So looking forward to how he performs when he's out there as well. Rocky's just took a little break with the kids in Ibiza, so because he's got nothing lined up, but there was talk about him and Chavez. They've been going back and forward on social media, but Martin's in that position again. He's the back end of his career and he's just waiting to see what comes up, the opportunity. There was talk of him boxing in America because he's never had a visa to be able to travel and box in America up until now. Now he has got it, and he's sort of in the twilight of his career, but he's hoping that he can maybe get a big fight. He's had a couple of fights last year and had a couple of wins, so hopefully something big will come up for him.
Just moving away from the gym, just a few things to quickly get your thoughts on. Start off with Dillian Whyte. It's just come out that he's a split from Mark Tibbs because of logistical reasons, but what do you make of that?
I didn't know that.
It's just come out, so yeah.
So Dylan's left Mark Tibbs. Well, I don't know. I mean, listen, there must be a reason behind it, but Mark Tibbs is a very, very good trainer. So that surprises me because I thought it's pretty much a team. They go hand in hand. So yeah, it does surprise me. I can't believe that actually.
Obviously, Dillian was getting ready for the Povetkin fight, but instead of touching on that, Maurizio Sulaiman has come out and said that after Wilder Fury 3, whoever wins that will have to face Dillian Whyte next, and there's a lot of talk about the potential undisputed fight between AJ and Fury. But what do you make of that? Do you think it's right that Dillian gets the chance before the undisputed, or?
Well, obviously, I think he should have had his shot by now. Should have already had his shot. But if we're talking about what fight do I want to see personally, obviously, like everybody else in the world, I want to see AJ versus Fury. But that doesn't mean that Dillian Whyte shouldn't have had his shot and doesn't deserve his shot. I feel so sorry for him because it's the politics in boxing sometimes can ruin it. I've got a feeling the WBC are going to pull one of their old tricks where they promote. You better check them undies, mate. You've definitely filled them undies. I think they'll probably upgrade the Fury Wilder winner to Emeritus champion or whatever.
Franchise. But Maurizio has also come out and said that he won't be upgrading.
He said that, has he?
He said he won't be upgrading Fury to franchise.
Then what they're going to do? So the WBC are going to turn away AJ v Fury. The only thing I can possibly think of is that if Fury wins, which I'm assuming he will, he'll give the WBC title up, and that fight doesn't need titles. AJ v Fury, they could fight each other in a 12 round. It wouldn't make a dot of difference. Everyone would recognise that as the undisputed championship.
Just for those who may not be aware, Carl Frampton just walked
shit
past
his pants. Yeah. He's just basically shit his pants when he walked past.
He's kind of thrown me a little bit. He's giggling away in the background there. But obviously, just to move away again from that, Jamie, and just want to get your thoughts on fights that have recently been announced. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Ryan Garcia versus Luke Campbell. What do you make of that for WBC interim title?
That's a great fight. Great fight. It's a great fight because there's loads of unanswered questions. When you look at Luke Campbell, his regime, he's got a solid regime, but Ryan Garcia hasn't yet. He's got loads, bags of potential, and it's a bit of a sort of unanswered question there. Campbell's got to look at Garcia and go, I really don't know what I'm going in with here. Obviously, he's an explosive puncher and he looks the part, but at what sort of level? Luke Campbell's really good at negating people and shutting down or stopping you from doing what you're good at. But from looking at Garcia, one punch can change everything. So it's a great fight. That I just hope it comes off, because I'm not sure whether Garcia will follow it through. He has been offered that other fight against WBO eliminator. Yeah, and I don't know the kid, but by all accounts, what I've read of him, he's a good, solid fighter as well. So it's not an easy fight. So, but to me, the more intriguing fight is the Campbell fight. I hope he follows it through.
You've also had for the WBC Diamond belt, Jorge Linares versus Javier Fortuna announced. Again, Jamie, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't understand really where Devin Haney comes into the picture, because you can't gift him an interim title and then not involve him in stuff where you're making up titles. The whole point of an interim title is, while the main title's held up for whatever reason, they're not stagnating, and then if and when they're available, you match them with them. So why have they not matched Linares with Haney? Doesn't make sense to me. It's a better fight.
What do you make of kind of the title situation? So in that division in particular, you got Vasyl Lomachenko, who's franchise title holder. Campbell versus Garcia would be for the interim. Linares versus Fortuna for the diamond, and Devin Haney holds the normal WBC world title. Four
mental,
titles at once.
Crazy. But so the only possible way you can only make any sense of it is for financial reason. That's why it's happening. The only way they can fix it is by doing what they're trying to do. So by the look of it, they're trying to plan a tournament between all the guys to eventually find out who's the actual WBC champion, because by the look of it, they've lost the path themselves. They don't really know who's the actual WBC champion. So hopefully all the guys will fall into it. They offer them the right sort of financial deal. The promoters can work together and they can do some sort of tournament to find out who's the best, because God, there's some talent. That is some stacked talent. 5 or 6 fighters there who have a round robin tournament. Whoever comes out on the top of that he's going to be some fighter. Lomachenko's probably going to come out on top, but what a tournament that'd be.
Jamie, final thing which I forgot to ask about earlier, a man who Cole was obviously looking to face and was probably close to announcing something with Jamal Herring. He returns to boxing next week against Jonathan Oquendo on Tuesday night, I believe it was. Obviously he just tested positive for coronavirus, but has since recovered, and obviously everything looks well there. But what do you make of that? Will you be tuning in to watch?
Of course we will. Yeah, I mean the plan is still, Carl's going to box in August, and the plan is still before the end of the year that he'll box Herring. So I'll be keeping a close look on that. I'm assuming it won't be too much of a dangerous fight for him, because obviously the Carl's fight's planned for around the end of the year. But I'll be tuning in and taking my notes.
Jamie, we'll leave you now to go and enjoy the rest of Cole's comforts. It's been a pleasure to catch up with you, mate.
We'll change his napper.